Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing. So hopefully I'm being able, being heard clearly. Good morning, guys. Good morning, good morning. Just let me know if you're hearing me clearly, guys. Welcome again to another TrinFx London session. I'm gonna get started just now. I'm just trying to clean my glasses. Yes, guys. Okay. Should be good. Just let me know if you hear me clearly, guys. And welcome to another session here. A quick look at this. It looks like this is persistent to the downside, right? So from yesterday's GJ analysis, we're just gonna dive straight into it, right? It looks like this is continuing to persist to the downside here. So this is a good potential trade, like immediately off the bat. Let me just remove a lot of these joints here. Right, we're just gonna take a look from the overall daily and back down to the 1 hourly, right? So again, like I said, focusing on the previous day, focusing on the recent move, right? So that would be like from this here, this area here, right? These are daily candles being projected here. So we're focusing from here, where we see price came in back into the resistance and then this push back down. Now again, this is contributed from a lot of things, such as the initial movement to the downside being that of the COVID restrictions from China over the weekend really impacted the market once it had opened, and from then we had a statement coming out from China as well. So it softened tones quite a bit, right? But that isn't here to last. And particularly when we take a look at the markets from the statement set, I can't find it right now, but I would update you guys inside the Discord about that. And looking right now, possibly we have some possible target areas back into these lows here, right? So this is one target area I'm looking at potentially, and somewhere like right here, right, which what we saw initial rejections as price was trending up back into this area. So as we continue on the day, again, we're just gonna go with where the volume is and where the volume may continue as the London session actually does open, right? So this is pre-London. So something like right here, this would have been like the ideal place to like get into the trade to go down, essentially. But looking, hold on, let's go to 1 hour here. Excuse me. All right. So essentially, this is what we have happening here, right? So we see that price continuously push downwards. We can see these clear levels here as price continue moving down. And let me, you guys hear me clearly, right? Just need to double check that you guys hear me clearly. Make sure this thing is on. All right, nice. Thank you. All right, so yeah, like I said, we see that price is currently very strongly heading to the downside. We can see that represented by these strong bear candles. We have these very clear areas of support resistance that have a uniform direction being formed here, and currently this is where we are. We're in a sort of range, right? So from yesterday, coming to yesterday evening or so, right? We noted that price may start to just kind of range between this area right here, because we won't have much volume, and we'll have to wait until London session hits to actually see a continuation if we're to continue bearish, because that's where we get the most of the volume, right, during the London session when we have the open as well as the New York session open, right? So that should give price some room to move. So in terms of possible target areas, no reason to actually go bullish on this yet. If I am to switch directions, it will be somewhere above here, right? So price will actually come back up here, right? Pull out this zone, come back up here, and at that point, that will give us more of a clearer bias that price is going to continue to the upside, right? If it starts breaking back up to these levels, right? So for now, it looks like a simple sell, right? As you guys know, essentially, I like to get into the move before the actual, the move itself. So two chances on this, right? This being one here, kind of a very strong range, right? It's going to 30 minutes. Okay. So we're seeing this supportive area right here. We want to see price break lower. So entering this, a break below right here would be nice to hold. Yeah, so a break below this level, if we get close below it, we should continue down, right? So you could put this as a sell stop entry right here, right at 165 541, and to see price to continue moving down during this London session. Right, not the best of risk to reward in terms of, like, the pip range itself is a lot. Yeah, so we just have to work with that, right? I would like to get more to this, but from what we're seeing right now, we do have some very strong candle formations, right? Some very strong bearish candles. You can see that, like, all this right here, if you just measure the range of it, right? 92, 99, right? So, and the range here itself as well, right around 60 pips or so, right? So we just have to work with what we get in. So yeah, essentially this would be the trade. You can wait until price breaks below here. Once we do get that break and close below, we should continue moving downwards. At that point, I would take another possible entry. Take this here. Right, so if price does manage to break below and we get a close right along here, then this stop will essentially be above this candle high, right? We should continue with the momentum to the downside. There's no reason that price should wake back up, but however, the markets does what the markets want, right? So it is a possibility, but there shouldn't be any reason, because we don't have any fundamental factors that affect this. If we're going to just continue with where the current volume is, should be heading, then we should continue to the downside right now, right? The GBP not really in a good place to buy as well. So in terms of relative currency strength, the yen itself is stronger than the GBP right now. So with that being said, this would be the trade, and you just wait for that closure below, right? So this being the first one here, looking for price to close below. So sell stop, not gonna enter preemptively as this candle forms here, because it could wake up and then on the next hour we actually get the closure below. So we'll wait, and once we do get that, then I'll also be triggered in this and I'll look to continue riding it to the downside, right? So that's basically all I'm looking for. So we have 20 minutes until that happens, well, possibly. And yeah, so that's around 3.7 and 4.7%. So roughly, I want to say around 9%, sorry, 9% in total, right? 9% trade. So we're just gonna wait to see what happens here. As you know, I am risking 3% on every trade I do take. Just to clarify that, so I will be entering with a 3% risk on this, giving me 2 chances, right? So that's it. This is the trade that we're looking at. In terms of anything else that we do have, actually, let me put let me just put an alert here. We do have some news coming up as well. The main focus right now being that of Jerome Powell and what he has to say. So that is something that we're also looking at coming up at 1:30 p.m. to around 2:30 my time. Because American Daylight Savings. Excuse me. All right. So yeah, that's been the main focus here from the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, and the speech that he's going to give concerning inflation and the Fed, their stance on interest rates increase, talking about inflation. And thus far for the U.S. economy, it has been good, but at the same time, there's a lot of caveat. So unemployment has been down at around like I think about 3.7%, right, in total, which is good. It hasn't been like that in decades, right? But however, there's still some issues facing the overall labor market and labor market strength. So we'll see him talk about that. And essentially from the last previous set of statements that we had from Jerome Powell, he's been quite quick to shut down optimism, right? For investors. So we could see the US dollar slide some more heavily back to the downside. But we have like an hour of that, him talking. So we will see the market fluctuate between those hours, right? So during that time, we will see a fluctuation on the US dollar. But overall, I do think that the US dollar would slide, right? It may. Depending on what he says, it might be very bearish, and that may cause some problems, right? But before that, we could see some optimism kick in, and we could probably ride that. So here on EuroCAD, I do have this trade. It hasn't been triggered yet. It's a sell stop right here. So if any of you in the free group see this, then this is something that you can also possibly take, right? Looking to sell this. Again, with that optimism in mind, we could see price rally on the CAD and US dollar. So more particularly interested in the CAD as there's a correlation with the US dollar. So that may give us some yield. As well as I had 80 CAD, right? But 80 CAD failed to continue. And then on the second entry, right? I had a sell stop and it triggered, but then it came back, and you see that price just kind of consolidated and it pushed up now a little bit. I'm still looking to sell these, right? There's no real reason for me to actually change that bias into a buy. So I'm just looking for price to actually reapproach this area, enter for the short side, and just get a quick 4% on this when we do have the news come out. Price would likely spike, and I'll be using that momentum to actually possibly get a gain out of this, right? Yeah, and there's not much going on right now because we all the markets are in anticipation of that. So that's all that we have going on right now. The only other things that we have in focus, also, if you take a look at the calendar here, we have CPI and core inflation rates and stuff for the euro area. So we have that in like 2 hours at 6 o'clock. So that may also affect the euro card trade as well. We have like the CPI numbers, inflation numbers actually being lower than the previous. The consensus is lower than the previous. So we'll see how that affects the overall the euro dollar, right? Maybe it might give the euro card a push lower. We'll see. If that does happen, I'll be triggered in, and depending on what we see, then I may be able to ride that for a profit. All right, let's see what this is doing. All right, guys, so this is the entry here, and this is secondary entry. If you want, you can leave the secondary entry out for now, and just focus on this main one, right? So once we get close below, we should see a continuation, and at that point, depending on how strongly this closes, then you can enter the second position to continue riding it down. But essentially, this is what I'm looking at to head at. We have a lot of news, so a lot of volume should be in the market. For the yen itself as well, if we do see US dollar weakness, we'll see the yen pick up in strength too, right? Particularly on JPY rather than like 80 JPY or 80 USD. In terms of like the relative strength, because the GBP itself, the pound, is very weak, right? Compared to something like, the risk tones may change for the markets, and you'll see like 80 JPY may just stall because the relative currency strength will be around the same than if you're looking at this, so you're looking at USD JPY, for instance, this would move more than the others, right? Because this is the main currency that we are looking at compared with the yen. So just keep that in mind, right? Why in certain situations you'll get better yield from one currency pair compared to the other. So not all the time you'll see like the AD JPY, TP JPY, and CD JPY. They won't move the same, and you can get the best possible yields depending on what fundamental factors are in play, as well as risk tones and stuff like that, right? So that is something that you should pay attention to as well. Well, at least note mentally, right? So that's why, in particularly, I don't trade like I won't trade cross pairs that are the same. So I won't trade like, okay, I have a AD JPY position. I won't trade NZD JPY too, right? I'll choose one over the other because they give me the best possible yield I can get, because of the factors in play, right? So hopefully that helps. Yeah, EU inflation is in 2 hours. On Euro USD, the terms and conditions on spread. Y seems to be coming right there. My daily resistance should be wary, especially for the short. I don't think we should be wary for the short, because again you're going with the overall volume, right? So you're expecting volume to actually push price, either below or above that area. In this instance, below that area. So okay, like here for instance, right? JPY is up. There's no like real resistance. Well, the resistance is up here, right? But in terms of like the bearishness or the potential move that we can get, we could actually fill these wicks this side here, right? So we could actually fill this. We could even go lower, especially if we do have that volume. And again, we also have the news, something to be pay attention to. We have the news coming up for the Fed as well, where if this doesn't play all the way down immediately, we would get more opportunities to actually enter other short setups on JPY, right? Because again, in terms of relative strength, the JP is very weak, so that makes this a better yielding yen cross pair, other than USD JPY, of course, the main pair. And the Japanese strength would increase as well. So with whatever Fed power says, whatever Powell says, if it's bearish in tone, then you're just gonna see the yen continue seeing a kind of boost, right? Vice versa, you might see actual a boost or a change in the tones in terms of risk, right? You'll see like the AD pick up, obviously, right? So usually in times of when the US dollar is weak, you'll see the other currency cross pairs with the match with the US dollar actually increase. You'll see like it just spikes up and stuff like that, right? And then the risk tones might change because of that spike, right? So that's something to note. But in terms of the yen itself, it would gain, right? And this being the weaker currency here, the GBP, you'll see a continuation, more likely a continuation lower, right? So potentially this could just go all the way down here. We could get a fill all the way down here. So that's what I'm looking at. If price does play all the way, to this first area here, then I'll take my profits, call that whatever, call that George, and we just look for other possibilities as the day continue on. There's no need to rush it. There's no need to be greedy and hold everything. We can look for other opportunities. So keeping that in mind, that is essentially something that I'm looking at, right? For the continuations to be even lower, as we have Fed Chair Powell come out and speak on inflation and the US economy and stuff like that, right? So all of that is something that would give us potential moves. And as you can see, during November and December and stuff, we really have to, most of the moves that we will get is through or from these catalysts, right? These news catalysts. And that's all that we could do, right? So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you understand like what I'm trying to get across there, right? And your USD. Euro USD. Let's take a look at Euro USD, right? Yikes. Yeah, I'm not particularly fond of trading Euro USD. To be honest, it's not that pair that regularly look at or even get into. Very rarely I would. and it really depends on a scale itself. I don't really like trading the USD itself. Um, like in general, I really don't. You see me sticking more to like the 80 pairs, well, of recently 80 and CAD, GBP, not even the NCD itself. I just really don't like the US dollar. Um, yeah, I don't even know why myself. It's just something that I don't really like trading most of the times. Um, well, yeah, let's take a look here on the daily. Right, so we run into resistance here. Sorry, we run into resistance here. Right, we can see that we have this yeah, a really nice rejection level from the top here. Currently where price is at. All right, so we can actually mark this zone out here. All right, this is our zone here. We had these rejections from the top. We had a retest twice, right? Price came here, we rejected, came back into the zone, rejected a little bit, failed to continue downwards, came back, and now we're back into right here, right back into that zone. Again, essentially, this could move either way, right? It can move up, it can move down. Really depends on the news that we do have coming out. So when Powell speaks, right, that would determine the US dollar fate. So right now we could, see a consolidation, and maybe like an hour before, maybe an hour or two before, we could see maybe price rallies on the US dollar itself. So you might see it pull down, right? You might see it actually pull down a couple of ways. At that point, you could get in long, right? I'm telling you, well, not with absolute certainty, right? But I'm telling you, more than likely, if price does pull down in the few hours before the actual before Paul comes on and speak, right? You could potentially get in long on the long side of that move, right? And gain on the pullback, because he more than likely he's gonna have some negative comments, or at least some bearish tone comments, right? He might say, "I the labor market forces, it's been very robust, but we here at the Fed are looking for this and that or whatever, before we could make any decision moving further, interest rates hiking, yada yada," and all of that would have sort of a bearish impact on the dollar itself, right? So we'll see that pullback on price, and it's something very common, something very common that we have seen for a couple of times now. So yeah, essentially you can make a gain off of that pullback. Now the only thing to be wary about is that spreads do actually widen very very much during that period. So yeah, that's something that you need to be aware of as well. So with that being said, I do think that if price does move within the first like few hours of the news itself, before the news, you could potentially get in on a pullback in terms of like a buy setup or something like that. With your USD. Next one would be, I think, like going into it, right? You will get the better possible yields from like these here, right? So like 80 USD and NZD USD with the risk assets, you'll get a better yield potential than if you go with the Euro USD and like USD CAD, right? Because you see close correlation with the USD and the Canadian dollar. I don't think that would give you the best possible yields, but the risk assets, yeah, most definitely you would get better possible yields out of this. So if that does move, it will move by quite a bit. We might even target all the way back down here, right? And then yeah, you could just ride it to the upside. Once he does start, speech does start and whatever, and you could potentially get a gain off of that. Now I'm not saying to like that's like an absolute certainty, but I'm saying it's something that has happened quite a bit, and it could happen again, and you could gain up, you could get some potential out of that, right? But if you do decide to do that, if we see that happening and it plays out, if you do decide to do that, I'll suggest lowering your risk, and just because anything could happen, right? I don't want to be responsible for anybody blowing an account by telling them this, right? So manage your risk wisely, obviously, and yeah, we'll see how things go. But personally, it's not something that I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna wait and see, and the only thing that I'm possibly gonna trade is maybe see if we get the BJPY continuations, and I don't know, potentially whatever else we see at the point of time, in like my Euro card position as well. That's something that I'm looking forward to. AUD card, a possible re-entry on that, back at the entry level, right back into the supported level here. That's it. And NZD card, NZD card position too, right? And that's basically it. So around like 3 trades besides the GP JPY is what I'm looking at, and I'm just gonna see if I could get these 3 trades to play out. If it stops me out, if it doesn't play out, or if I get stopped out, that'll be 9%. I say I'm risking 3% per trade, um, which is not much in terms of like the overall gains thus far for the month. So yeah, that's just basically where my head is at in terms of what I'm looking for, right? So I hopefully that's like some insights for you guys, what to expect, especially those in the VIP group, what to expect from me, for today, right? So essentially that's all I'm looking at, and possible re-entries back on NZD card, and the Euro card position being hit, and possible continuation to the downside, right? So yeah, we might actually get hit, during the London session. We'll see if we get a continuation. I might take it out at 3% and just call that George. But yeah, just about waiting and seeing what price does. Alright, so hopefully you guys got some valuable information out of this stream. As always, please leave a like if you found this informational and informative, and you get some knowledge out of it. It really helps the channel grow, as well as get more people into it. And yeah, we can help more people out here in TrinFx, because we really are a very, we're like the I don't want to brag or anything. I don't want to sound egotistical or anything like that, but it's like a hidden gem within the trading community, right? So yeah, with that being said, I just think this channel does have a lot of potential to help new and upcoming traders. So yeah, please feel free to leave a like. Helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm and stuff, right? So our next minute, I said hour, our next 2 minutes here, I see like price pushed up here. How we didn't get triggered yet, so that's great, right? So we didn't get too early, we didn't get in on it too early, too preemptively, and get stopped out unnecessarily, anything like that. Didn't put any unnecessary risk here. Let's take a look at the 1 hour. So yeah, it's a strong rejective level for now. Again, expecting volume to continue to the downside, right? There's no reason that it should just continue pushing up, or markets could do whatever it does, right? It could continue pushing up and stuff, right? And that would just be the market doing what it wants. But for somebody, where we're trading probabilities and looking at other fundamental factors that affect price, there's no reason for me to switch my bias to a buy position yet, right? In terms of like the longer term perspective, even here on the intraday perspective or anything, no reason for that as of yet, right? There's no fundamental factors to contribute to that or anything, at least from my understanding, and this isn't something that I'm worried about. If price does actually push up, then hey, we didn't get any trades. We'll look for another potential setup. Very unlikely I would enter a buy position at this point, because then we have to actually wait and see a lot of things. We have to see price push past this, clear these zones, and then we just have to get trade this range. And at that point, no volume in the market, so I'm not gonna stress myself out about that, right? But if it does push up, then whatever, no trades. We just escape the day without a loss or gain, which is still a gain in my book, right? So yeah, price will do what it wants, and all we could do is watch. So leaving it, whatever happens. Yeah, even if it manages to clear this zone and continue moving up, then oh well. Not stressing about it. But yeah, you guys see my position, you guys see what I'm looking at, what I'm potentially looking to get into, and that's basically it for me. All right. So if anybody have any other questions, feel free to ask. But other than that, I think this will be it, right? I'm somebody that I don't like to keep you guys on here too long. We get into what the market's doing, what we're looking at, And seeing how it's November, not really much in terms of like volume to really discuss, right? Um, so it's really like it's really a relaxed sort of trading approach we should have for this month, for the rest of the month, as well as December. Like I said, I continue saying this. I'll probably only trade like the first 2 weeks of December, and after that, it's just like, well, I'm not too particularly and focused on that. Um, excuse me. But yeah, that is potentially what I'm just gonna do. Um, for November month, guys, like those of you that in the VIP group, it's been crazy. Like in terms of like the overall profitability, just complete crazy. Um, so yeah, we don't actually have to trade. Like even before that, all the profits that we made thus far, and especially for those in the VIP group for like a long time, we didn't have to actually trade for like the last 4 months, right? Which is crazy when you think about it. Like when I think about it and like I look back at the previous results and the trades that we taken and the overall profits and stuff, I'm like, wow, the gains that we've been making, we really didn't have to trade for the last 4 months, right? Could have just called it a year and done completely. But as day traders, we like to be on the charts and look at the possible setups and be doing our absolute best and whatnot. So it is what it is. Yeah, so guys, make sure and leave a like, really appreciate it. um yeah, GJ just gonna do its thing, right? I do think that we will get over like a correction move. If price does wick away from this area, then that'll just reaffirm those sell positions for me and that possible continuation lower, right? So yeah, I'm not gonna be the one to enter buy and be like, no, price gonna go up. I need to get the trade in now before soars all the way to the upside. And yeah, I'm not gonna be that guy. So yeah, discipline, patience really goes a long way. Right, besides that, the Euro card, price pulling up a little bit now. 80 card. Okay. Even if as 80 card, once it comes back up into this daily resistance area, right here, the highs here, I'm not gonna enter preemptively. I'll wait until the price here approach back into this area, triggers it, and continue to the downside here. Just because if price does push even higher, again um during that Fed Powell speech, right, when it comes to talk, I don't want to be taking an unnecessary risk at the top here, right? But if price reapproaches back into this level, then we have a high probability of just hitting the support, this new support form, and a continuation, maybe higher or lower. Whatever happens after that, not really my concern. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at, guys. This is what I haven't installed. This is what I haven't played, and this is a trade I'm looking at. So we'll see if it does hit. If we do get a trade out of this, as the day continue along, I'll let you guys know inside the VIP and also the free group as well. How this plays out. All right, guys. So thank you for joining the live stream. I do hope that you got some knowledge out of it. If the trade plays out, that'll be great as well. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow in the next one. I wouldn't come on. I'm debating if to come on here during the Fed speech. And we could look at what Paul says together and the overall reaction that the markets does have, and potentially get on a trade setup during that. But I don't know how my day is going to go, so I don't know if I'll have time. But I'll let you guys know within the Discord group. All right, guys. So thank you for joining. Leave a like if you haven't liked already. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already for future updates, and you'll be notified on when I post, as well as any Discord group and anything. Right, you could join the free Discord group and the Telegram group. I do send my trades out there time to time, so you could potentially get some knowledge and gains off of that. All right, guys. So thank you. I'll see you next one. Peace.